Merlin. Welcome to Sing the Score. Hello and welcome to Sing the Score. The good news is that we should have a run of these up to Christmas now for you, assuming things go according to plan. If you'd like to join the watch party, they happen at 8 o'clock on Fridays. Do join us at the usual link. Next week we'll be doing the Feast of the Immaculate, or we'll be commemorating the Feast of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary in an Ave Maris Stella by Monteverdi and Soriano. And this week, a quickie from Tomkins. Why do I keep going back to him? Well, Tomkins has rather suffered in the sort of popular view, and by popular I mean massively niche, of course, as being not quite as cool as Bird, doesn't quite have as funky name as Gibbons.
Ooh, 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 the funky Gibbon. Funky Gibbon, just like you. Come on, dude, funky Gibbon now.
And nor did he have one of his most famous pieces ornamented in a British sitcom some 400 years later, like John Dowland did.
Okay.
Scared to get the Jarvis MRI file for Dr. McCartney?
Yes.
I didn't know you were a recorder player.
Yes, I have many strings to my bow recorder.
Tomkins' 1622 Book of Songs is without doubt one of the finest books of music of this late Elizabethan, early Jacobean period. And if you're a singer, you really want to get to grips with some of these pieces. We recorded the whole book back in 2001, and they really repay listening and singing along to. We featured several of them in Sing the Score already. So if you'd like a bit of background info about Tomkins and the book, pop back to Sing the Score number 6 and number 12, and as always the whole series awaits your pleasure at ifalgilini.com/singthescore. Quick précis though. Born in Wales, Welsh family, moved to Gloucester when he was about 14, may have been press-ganged by William Byrd or someone else into the Chapel Royal about that time, becomes organist of Worcester Cathedral, spends a lot of time up in London, and publishes in 1622 this wonderful book of songs in the same year that he's confirmed as an organist at the Chapel Royal. The book is often referred to as the last great volume of madrigals, except that Tomkins simply calls them songs and includes sacred as well as secular pieces. We shouldn't be surprised by this, as while the sacred pieces in the book could theoretically have been performed in the Anglican Church, I mean they were in English and there was nothing controversial in the text, that famous line after the third collect at evening prayer, or evensong as we now call it, in choirs and places where they sing, there now followeth the anthem, didn't appear until the 1662 version, and there was no place in the Anglican liturgy for these specific texts otherwise. No, I think it's much more helpful to think of this sort of piece as being sung at home for the moral and spiritual recreation of people who could afford and read the part books, even bearing in mind that that would have been a small number, certainly compared to continental Europe, where music printing had been going along for many more years and much more freely as well. How we lagged behind. What we have on Sing the Score today is a setting of texts from the Song of Songs, the Old Testament book of erotic wedding poetry, perhaps wedding poetry. It's certainly a conversation between the bride and the bridegroom, which the Christian church read as an analogy for Christ's love for his church. And it's certainly given us some of the most memorable phrases in our culture and indeed our music. And I've popped those languorous settings of Song of Songs settings in almost as a sort of editorial balance, as the one that we're going to do today is really quite a sprightly setting that most cathedral choirs at the time would probably have really struggled with. The text appeared in the King James Bible at the time, translated as, "The voice of my beloved, he cometh leaping upon the mountains, skipping upon the hills," which comes out in this version as,
"It is my well-beloved's voice that soundeth in my ears. My heart hereat doth much rejoice to see him draw so near. O see on yonder mountain top, on yon same hill so tall, how hitherward my love doth hop, my heart doth skip withal."
which does make the lover sound rather like a grasshopper.
The interesting fact about the grasshopper is its disproportionate leaping ability due to its powerful hind legs. Hop, hop, hop it goes, all over arable land. That is land what is actually tilled by Arabs.
Let's look at the mode. Theoretically, at least, it's the Mixolydian. That's G to G on the white notes of the piano with no sharps or flats in the key signature. Ya da 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 dee 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 dee.
And that's the end of a really good spell there by the Greek reverse swing bowler, Mixolydian. 8 overs for 22. Didn't take a wicket, but more importantly, no accidentals. Oh, very consistent line and length there, keeping the ball in that G to G corridor. No sharps or flats. The medieval theorists actually classed this mode as joyful or garrulous. Gary Loss played for the West Indies in 1972, for you trivia pickers there, with melodies characterised by theatrical leaps. That's rather like my run-up. You're not wrong, Tony. You look like an emu fighting a wasp.
So the Mixolydian G to G without the F sharp in the key signature that our modern key systems would require. Here's how the opening looks in the quintus or second soprano part. Everything as it should be, no sharp in the key signature and based around G. But modes schmodes, if we believe Thomas Morley from his famously dismissive passage about them in A Plain and Easy Introduction to Music, his guide to composing published in 1597. Morley's view was that modes weren't really something that composers bothered with anymore. And lest you think that Tomkins wasn't bothered about Morley's opinion or wouldn't even have had the book, amazingly, Tomkins' own copy of this book still exists, annotated by him. You can see he's written his name at the bottom of it there. It's now in possession of Magdalen College, Oxford. I particularly like the page inside where Morley has listed all the authorities of music and the composers whom he claims to have consulted, because Tomkins has added some of his own on the right there, including Morley himself, which is nice, Mundy, Hooper, Bull and Gibbons. It looks strangely like the back of my old chemistry books, in which instead of doing chemistry I used to write out fantasy cricket teams from the early 1980s. I didn't do chemistry A-level. Anyway, what we notice in our piece today is that despite that key signature suggesting G Mixolydian, the piece is actually in a much more modern G major. There are so many extra added sharps in the part books that one might as well just make a modern edition in G major, one sharp, which is what we've done.
Could I just interrupt a second?
Yes, welcome. What is it?
Oh, nothing. I just wanted to interrupt.
Oh. The piece itself, well, it's quite athletic, though it starts calmly with the voice of the beloved first heard in the upper voices, then lower. Then with all six, giving us a good chance to hear the well-beloved's voice. And the voice soundeth in my ears, written very suitably as if echoing, echoing, echoing. Then my heart hereat doth much rejoice. Hereat, that's a wonderful word. I feel we should all be using it more. See if you can use it once today.
I watch SingTheScore. My musical learning hereat doth increase.
I'm a baker. Hereat I knead the dough.
And on that phrase, my heart hereat doth much rejoice, the word my heart hereat is set off the beat to give it real swagger. my heart hereat, while rejoice has joyful fast notes, the syllable re coming in early to draw attention to them, as we've seen so often in English music of the period. Much rihi joyce. If he'd written it only mahat rihi, it wouldn't tell as strongly as much rihi joyce, the vowel sound difference cutting through the richness of the polyphony. And why is she rejoicing? To see him draw so near. And it doesn't matter whether you read that literally as the arrival of the lover, or in the Christian sense as the coming of the kingdom of heaven. As a composer, it's a reason to increase the tension. And in all voices except the bass, the drawing near is expressed by voices drawing each other close to them.
To see him draw so near, to see
Underpinning all this is the bass visibly rising a note at a time. To see him draw so near. Join it all together. Then C, which has perhaps triggered Tomkins to think about eyes, because he set it as two semibreves in each of the parts, a bit like two eyes staring out of the page at you. And when, as a child, I played with 16th century part books, for I had no real toys, I would imagine these eyes coming to life, as I had a most vivid imagination, whereas other children just had cheap plastic versions.
Action man! Now with eagle eyes that actually move. On the lookout for action. Up in the mountains, specially designed for Action Man. And his eagle eyes.
Then like
Action Man.
The phrase rises to the top of yonder mountain. On yonder mountain top. And once that figure is established, he lays the same figure over the top of another one, but displaced by one beat to create this rather lovely texture. Then we get to the hopping. It starts off manageable. How hitherward my love doth hop. But like the yonder mountain phrase, the development of this one gets quite tricky. How hitherward my love doth hop, doth hop. How hitherward my love doth hop, doth hop. And it gets even more frisky on the skipping. My heart, my heart, my heart doth skip withal. And whereas that previously athletic bit about the yonder mountain top was written over very static harmony, so that the texture is free to roam, if you like, without having to worry about hearing fast harmonic change underneath. This passage does have fast harmonic change, which makes it quite demanding both for the performer and for the listener. Good luck with that section. Full piece coming up. Just a quick reminder to make a donation to the cost of making these over at efagilini.com/friends. If you've been to that website before, perhaps you didn't consider becoming a friend to help us do our niche thing. It's just £30 a year, and the friends always hear about things we do first. Lastly, Efagilini is taking part in Voces 8's wonderful Live from London Christmas series. Starts in early December with a programme and line-up to drool over, just like Merlin. For us on Christmas Eve, it's Charpentier's Midnight Mass and Howell's Fall Carol anthems. And as a sneak preview, here's a few seconds of Howell's Long, Long Ago that we'll be singing. wonderful piece, and so little known, as indeed is today's rather more bouncy Tomkins piece. Do enjoy. Now here's Greg with The Warning.
Dudes, this is a very bouncy piece, and the wonderful thing about Tomkins is that Tomkins are wonderful things. Their tops are made out of rubber, their bottoms are made out of springs. They're bouncy, trouncy, flouncy, pouncy, fun, 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 fun. But the most wonderful thing about Tomkins is that I'm the only one. Okay.
No.